got you updated. This is We got you updated. This is Radio Imanzi News in English.
This is Radio Imanzi, broadcasting from Kigali. Here is the news in English, brought to you by Fiona Umuganwa. The headlines. A new Science, Technology, Engineering and Mathematics Center has been inaugurated in Kibogora Polytechnic, Nyamasheke District, to help students and surrounding community to get STEM hands-on skills. The Giza Riverside Home Project in Karamanya-Rugenge District has been inaugurated today. Teachers should be inspired and convinced about the application of science. Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan has lifted a ban on 4 newspapers that were shut down by John Pombe Magufuli. Now the news in detail. A new Science, Technology, Engineering and Mathematics Center has been inaugurated in Kibogora Polytechnic, Nyamasheke District, to help students and surrounding community to get STEM hands-on skills. The inauguration ceremony was attended by the Ambassador of Israel to Rwanda, Dr. Ron Adam, the Governor of Western Province, François Habitegeko, the Vice Chancellor of Kibogora Polytechnic, Dr. Daria Mukamusoni, teachers and students of the university and neighboring secondary schools. The facility is the third of its kind built in Rwanda by STEM Power, a partner organization of the Israel Embassy in Rwanda that established many STEM centers across Africa. The other 2 facilities were established at Inesi Ruhengeri and University of Rwanda College of Science and Technology. Ambassador Dr. Adam says the idea behind establishing STEM centers is to promote quality education.
STEM is super important. Everything starts in education, and if we want to achieve all the goals of the government, everything starts in education. In good education, we need a lot of engineers for the industry, for the sustainable development, and that's what we try to do. As I said, school children, students, and community. So those, even if it's not occupied by students or children, it should provide computers and internet for startupists, people that have idea, innovative, some small entrepreneurs who want to grow and make an impact. They can use the center as well. So it should be open for the community and for the schools. And I'm sure that it will be helpful for the future.
Ambassador Dr. Ron Adam speaking. The Giza Riverside Homes Project in Karamanya-Rugenge District has been inaugurated today with the construction of affordable housing built by the ADHI Corporate Group in partnership with the government of Rwanda. The project is in 5 phases, and the ADHI Corporate started with 245 housing units in the first phase and will be completed by the end of this year. By the end of this project, it will have 2,270 housing units. Teachers should be inspired and convinced about the application of science. This was said by Director of Science, Technology and Innovations in Rwanda, National Commission for UNESCO, Dominique Mvunaband. She was speaking at the event celebrating the role of women in science, which Rwanda celebrates today under the national theme, the role of women and girls in science and the implication in the prevention of COVID-19 pandemic. Regular capacity building for teachers will boost up the uptake of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics by girls and women in Rwanda. To mark the day, Rwanda recognized the best women and girls' achievements in science under 4 categories: Science Leadership Award, Research Award, Rising Star Award, and Champion of Science Award. Diane Chuzuzo said women should focus on what positively inspires them and look out for opportunities more than the discouraging elements in society. Women have to rise beyond the stereotypes that favor the boy more than the girl. She leads a company which seeks to modernize Rwandan cultural tools by making them into functional devices using a smartphone. The Minister of State in the Ministry of Youth and Culture, Edward Bamhurichi, today launched a project to take care of feeder roads that are important in rural economic development. Minister Bamhurichi called on the young people he was leading in the project to take advantage of this opportunity to raise funds for their development. The youth also assured him that they were ready to take advantage of all the opportunities provided to them by the government. Residents of Gicumbi district who live near the Gatuna-Gicumbi road are asking the government for compensation for their properties that were damaged during the construction of the Gatuna power line. There are 80 residents whose properties were damaged and are from 2 villages, namely Murama and Maya, in Kabugasel, Kajio sector. They claim they have been waiting for the compensation money for 10 months. Fidel Habinshuti, the head of the Umurenge Sacco Bank, says the list they received were not complete or well written, which has delayed the process of compensation. Emmanuel Ndanga, an employee of REG in charge of electricity distribution on the roads, responded saying they have told the residents to correct their names at the sector office and the issue will then be resolved. Nyagatare district authorities have warned livestock farmers who do not respect the guidelines put in place concerning the management and use of the farms. In 2008, the government of Rwanda provided about 10,000 pieces of land, equivalent to 100 hectares in the eastern province, which the government has implemented in various ways to assist farmers in approaching the infrastructure such as water in the pastures, milk collection and more. So far, the implementation of guidelines for the use of farms in Nyagatare has reached 88%, but there are reports of farmers in some places who violate the regulations from Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources regulating the use of the farms, which only allow that only 30% of the farm to be used for cultivation, with the rest being used for dairy cultural farming. As of the end of last year, farmers in the eastern province have been in the process of signing memorandums of understanding with the authorities on the proper use and management of farms in accordance with the regulations of the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources.
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
The Eastern African Community Council of Ministers has now approved the admission of the Democratic Republic of Congo into the regional bloc. The approval follows negotiations held between the East African Community and the DRC from January 15th to 24th in Nairobi. The East African Community negotiations team was led by Dr. Alice Yala, Integration Secretary at the Ministry of East African Community and Regional Development, and Professor Serge Chibangu, Special Envoy for President Felix Tshisekedi of DRC. Burundi's Foreign Minister Albert Shingiro said today that the United States had provided $400 million in aid to Burundi after the country and the European Union lifted the economic and emergency sanctions. Via his Twitter page today, the Burundian Foreign Minister said he was pleased with the United States agreement to support President Ndayishimiye's plans for sustainable development in Burundi. Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan has lifted a ban on 4 newspapers that were shut down by John Pombe Magufuli. The publications were initially said to be troublemakers and unethical when the government revoked their licenses. However, the Minister of Information, Communications and Technology, Nape Nnauye, announced that the licenses were restored as part of the country's continued efforts to support civil liberties. The minister said the newspapers will be required to operate within the law as the president tries to unite the nation. The minister's announcement comes nearly a year into President Samia's tenure and 10 months after she ordered public officials to stop harassing the media, reassure the country of freedom of expression, and directed the lifting of bans on some media houses. She had also lifted the ban on pregnant girls and teen mothers attending school, a controversial stance first imposed by Magufuli in 2017. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has given a seal of approval to the revised critical skills work visa as the country tightens its immigration laws. The revised critical skills list has been published following detailed technical work and extensive consultations on business and labor. In the wake of rising unemployment, South Africa is now reserving some jobs for its nationals in a move that will leave millions of foreign nationals jobless. Some jobs, like those for waiters, operating small businesses, shopkeeping, and the health and beauty industry, occupied mainly by foreigners, are now required to be exclusively for South African citizens. Stringent immigration laws are being introduced, and Zimbabweans have already been the most affected. Zimbabwean nationals have had their exemption permits scrapped, and about 200,000 of them are required to leave South Africa at the end of 2022. Health professionals from Africa, including researchers and policymakers, are seeking harmonization of their curriculum and training to address challenges affecting the continent's health sector and reposition its workforce for the global market. More than 800 health professionals from 27 African countries converged in Mombasa, Kenya for a 3-day conference with a call for competence-based learning and embracing technology to enhance their skills to improve health sector. The World Health Organization Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said the organization will soon publish new evidence and guidelines on competence-based education to support the African National Dialogue. Dr. Tedros said last year they broke ground on the World Health Organization Academy, which aims to transform lifelong learning for health. The pandemic demonstrates how critical health workers are and why they need the investment, the decent jobs, and most accurate information, competencies, and tools to keep themselves and their community healthy. He further pledged to continue supporting the continent to suppress the transmission of the pandemic and rebuild post-COVID. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Russia could launch an invasion of Ukraine at any time, including during the Beijing Winter Olympics. He said Washington was continuing to draw down its embassy in Ukraine and repeated a State Department call to American citizens in Ukraine to leave the country immediately. Blinken said there are very troubling signs of Russian escalation, including new forces arriving at the Ukrainian borders with Russia. Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi. Rwanda Stock Exchange Market Report of today, 11th February 2022. Today's trading session remained quiet as no transactions were recorded on both the equities and fixed income markets. Bredwa closed the counter at 125 Rwandan francs. Bank of Kigali closed the counter at 245 Rwandan francs. I&M Bank closed the counter at 45 Rwandan francs. Simerwa closed the counter at 120 Rwandan francs. M10 Rwanda closed the counter at 180 Rwandan francs. Equity Bank closed the counter at 440 Rwandan francs. Kenya Commercial Bank at 370 Rwandan francs. National Media Group at 1,200 Rwandan francs, Uchuri Supermarket at 104 Rwandan francs, RH Buffalo closed the counter at 526 Rwandan francs as the market closed. The currency market review of today. The Kenyan shilling buying price was 8.8 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 9 Rwandan francs. Tanzanian shilling buying price was 0.43 and the selling price was 0.44 Rwandan francs. Ugandan shilling buying price was 0.28 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.29 Rwandan francs. Burundian franc buying price was 0.5 Rwandan francs and selling price was 0.51 Rwandan francs. The US dollar buying price was 1,003 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,023 Rwandan francs. The British pound buying price was 1,357 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,384 Rwandan francs. The euro buying price was 1,142 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,165 Rwandan francs. With that, we come to the end of tonight's edition.